Good evening and welcome to episode 111 of Mystery, Murder, and Mayhem. I hope you're doing well. Tonight's episode is going to be a tad bit different because I'm going to be talking about several things that have taken place lately that have been quite interesting, to say the very least. Now, I'm sure that you've heard at least a little about what I'm going to talk about tonight because one of them is a really big story that's going on right now. And it really is kind of unsolved at this point, but I'm going to tell you what we know. Now, having said that, let's get on with tonight's episode. All right, so tonight I'm going to start it off with the story of Carlee Russell. Now, that's been a hot topic since early Friday morning, because around that time is when we started hearing like these disturbing details of how this 25-year-old woman from Alabama disappeared after stopping to check on a toddler that she saw walking along the side of the interstate. So I'm going to tell you what we know up to this moment, and this is like right up to this moment because we just finished listening to the press conference that the Hoover Police Department held. So this is what I have so far, and I'm going to be updating this later, but on Thursday, July the 13th, Miss Russell, she left her part-time job at the Woodhouse Spa. And from there, she drove to Taziki's around 9 p.m. to pick up dinner for herself and her mother. Well, she left the restaurant, and then around 9:34 p.m., she placed a 911 call, and she told the dispatcher that she was on I-459 near mile marker 11. And she went on to say that there was a toddler walking along the highway. Well, after she hung up with the dispatcher, she pulled over to check on the child. And I just want you to know that all of this was what we knew when I wrote this. So there's going to be updates, so don't get frustrated with me. But anyway, so she pulled over to check on this toddler, and during that time, she called her brother's girlfriend, and she said that and this is by she, I mean the brother's girlfriend. She lost the connection with Carlee, but the line remained open. And while they had been connected, Carlee told her that the child appeared to be about 3 or 4 years old, and she heard Carlee asking the child if they were okay. And she never heard a response from the child, but she did hear Carlee scream and then background noise from the passing traffic. Well, when officers arrived, they located Carlee's Mercedes, which was still running, but Carlee was nowhere to be found. And near her car, they found her wig and her telephone. Now, not only was there no sign of Carlee, but there was also no sign of a child, and police dispatchers had not received any other calls about a child on the side of the road. So, that was pretty odd, I guess you could say. Now, Carlee's mom, Talitha, said that a passing truck driver saw a gray car with with this tall brown skinned man wearing khaki shorts leaning into the car. And this was in the area that Carlee had pulled over to check on the child. Now, police did find some tire prints in the grass, but it wasn't muddy, so they didn't leave like these deep impressions that they could get any details of what type of car that had been there to leave the tracks. Now, over the following days, police and tons of volunteers searched the area where Carlee's car had been found, and they followed up on any leads that came in. And then Crime Stoppers comes forward, and they offered a $60,000 reward for a safe return. Now, for a minute, just put yourself in her family's position. They don't know where their daughter's at, if she's okay, what happened to her, anything like that. Well, then we're going to fast forward to Saturday night at 10:44 p.m. and Carlee shows back up all alone at her parents' home. Now, nobody knows how she got there, but she walked up to the front door and she knocked on it. Now, imagine again, after not knowing where your child is at, you open the door and you see your missing daughter standing there. I mean, can you imagine all the emotions? Well, they called 911 and she was taken by EMTs to UAB Hospital, where she was held overnight for evaluation, and then she was released on Sunday. Detectives responded to the home that night too, but they made it clear that they're not going to force Carlee to talk about the time that she was missing right away. On Sunday afternoon, Carlee's mom, she released a statement on Facebook that said, quote, "God is faithful and he has answered our prayers. We are so grateful to each of you for all the acts of kindness, generosity, and compassion you have shown. Our baby is safe. Thank you, Father God." End quote. And then also on Sunday, Carlee's boyfriend, who goes by the handle T underscore, and that's TEE underscore Sims 28, that's on Instagram, he released a statement on Instagram that says, quote, "I don't even know how to start off this post, but to only say thank you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for saving my girlfriend's life. Also, thank you to everyone who shared a picture, came out to the Hoover Met to help us with the search parties, and who went and proceeded to tell other people about Carlee to bring more awareness to her story. I have been going nonstop since I received the call that she was missing on Thursday night. I know she would have done the same for me, so I wasn't going to give up until I saw her face again." And later in his statement, he said, quote, "She was literally fighting for her life for 48 hours. So until she's physically and mentally stable again, she is not able to give any updates or whereabouts on her kidnapper at this very moment. And I also want to say thank you to the people on social media who have been understanding and respectful about what she's been through in these past few days. Once again, I can't say thank you guys enough for helping us bring Carlee home. God bless you all." And that's the end of that quote. Well, then on Wednesday, just before I was getting ready to record this episode, which that's today, more bits and pieces started coming out that were being published on AL.com. And one of those bits and pieces was that the police revealed that after Carlee left her work at Woodhouse Spa in Birmingham, she had made a stop at the local Target to buy snacks. And the police went on to say that these snacks weren't found anywhere at the crime scene. So, either she ate them and disposed of the wrappers or whatever, or she took the snacks with her when she disappeared. It could happen. Now, in that same statement, police said that they didn't find a shred of evidence that a toddler was even seen walking on I-459. There was no additional 911 calls to dispatchers that night to report a toddler walking on the side of the road. And I mean, this is my personal thought, but I've been kind of thinking this because you would think that others would have seen a young child walking down an interstate, right? I mean, I know it was dark, but surely somebody else had to see a toddler walking down the side of a busy highway. Now, like I said, we don't know everything, and I'm just going to give her the benefit of the doubt until we know otherwise. Now, another bit of information that's been released is that there was surveillance footage found of Carlee walking alone down the street in her neighborhood on Saturday night, right before she showed up to her parents' house. Now, just like in that statement that her boyfriend made on Instagram, her parents told the Today Show on Tuesday morning that not only did she fight for her life, but that she was abducted. But that's all they really said about the matter. Now, I did see that the spa that she worked at had released a statement too, and that statement, the spa owner, his name is Stuart Rum, he said that their employees were deeply impacted by the events surrounding Carlee and are now, quote, ecstatic with the news of Carlee's return. And he also said that they have been fully cooperative with law enforcement and that everything that they uncovered there at the spa is now in the possession of the Hoover Police Department. He didn't say what it was that they uncovered. And as far as what has been posted on social media, he said, quote, some items are factual while others are not, end quote. Well, today, like I was saying, right before I was getting ready to get all this recorded, it came out that the Hoover Police Department was going to do a press conference at 2:30 their time, which meant it was 3:30 in the afternoon, getting pretty late, cutting it close for doing a podcast episode that comes out on Wednesday nights. But anyway, so I waited to record until I could listen to the press conference, and to me there was like several bombshells that just was dropped during this press conference. The chief of police there, his name is Nick Durzis. Now, he gave a timeline of the events, and he said that at approximately 8:20 p.m. on the night that she disappeared, Carlee left her work at that spa, and then surveillance video showed her putting a bathrobe, a roll of toilet paper, and a few other items that belonged to the spa into her car. After that, she picked up food at Taziki's, and from there, she drove to Target where she purchased Cheez Its and granola bars. That's the snacks that I mentioned earlier. And you're going to want to remember those, something about the Cheez Its, because it's going to be important in a minute, and you'll see why. Now, after getting in her car at Target, she stayed in the parking lot until like 9:21 p.m., and that's when she drove to I-459. And she communicated with a few people that she knew while she was traveling, and then at 9:34 p.m. is when she called 911 to report seeing that toddler walking down the road. Well, at that point, the 911 call was played. Now, after they played that 911 call, it was revealed from evidence from her iPhone that she had traveled approximately 600 yards while she was talking on the phone. You know, she was in her car. She drove 600 yards. And the whole time that she's driving, she's telling the police that the police dispatcher that she's keeping an eye on that toddler. Odd, I know. Um, it only took the first officers to arrive on the scene, like right around 5 minutes, maybe not even 5 minutes, and more officers showed up after that. Now, all that was found at that time was like what I mentioned earlier, that wig, the iPhone. Well, fast forward to when she returned home. Now, police say they were able to obtain a short statement from Carlee, and in that statement, she told them that when she got out of her car to check on that child, a man came out of the trees and he mumbled something about checking on the baby. And she then said that the man picked her up, and that's when she screamed. And he made her go over a fence, and then he forced her into a car. Now, the next thing she remembered was being in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. And she said that there was a male and a female. She never saw the female, but she heard her voice. And she remembers hearing a baby crying. And she described the man, he had orange hair with a bald spot in the back. Now, at some point, she was able to escape from the 18-wheeler, but she was captured again, and then she was put into a car. After she was put into that car, she was blindfolded, but they didn't tie her up because they said they didn't. She said that the captor said that they didn't want to leave impressions on her wrist. Well, they took her to a house, and once they got her to the house, they made her undress. She believes they may have taken pictures of her at that point, but she doesn't think that they had any like sexual or physical contact with her. The next day when she woke up, she was being fed cheese crackers by the female. And that's where the Cheez-Its come in. So I just want you to think about that. But anyway, now the big thing that stood out to me was the recent search history that was revealed during this press conference this afternoon. At 7:30 a.m. on July the 11th, which was just 2 days before she disappeared, The term, "Do you have to pay for an Amber Alert?" was searched. Then at 1:03 a.m. on the day that she disappeared, there was a search for how to take money from a register without getting caught. And then 12 minutes later, she had searched for a one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville. Now later that same day at 12:30 p.m., a search for the movie Taken took place. Now, Chief Durzis, sorry about that, Chief Durzis also noted that the food from Tzatziki's was still in the car, but the snacks from Target and the items that was taken from her work were not in the car, nor were they located at the scene. Now, they have asked for a second interview with Carlee, but so far she hasn't granted them that interview. And I should also say that he made it very clear that this is an ongoing investigation. So, as of right now, that's where we are, or what we know. Police are still trying to piece together everything, just, what happened all during those 2 days that Carlee was unaccounted for. And they say it's not going to be a fast process. Now, as I always say, when more is released, I'll definitely be back with an update because this one has really got my interest stirred up. Another mind boggling story that's hit the news lately is that Leslie Van Houten was released from prison after serving 53 years of a life sentence. Now, if you don't know who Leslie Van Houten is, in short, she was a member of the Manson family that terrorized the nation back in the 60s. And during her time as a member of the Manson family, she went by several aliases like Luella Alexandria, Leslie Marie Sangston, Linda Sue Owens, and simply just Lulu. Now, in 1969, she was arrested and charged in relation to the murders of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Van Houten was originally sentenced to death, but in 1972, the California Supreme Court found the death penalty unconstitutional. So her sentence was commuted to life in prison. Then in 1976, her sentence was overturned by an appellate court decision and they granted her a new trial. Well, that trial ended in a deadlocked jury and a mistrial. So in 1978, at her third trial, she was convicted of 2 counts of murder and 1 count of conspiracy. And for those crimes, she was sentenced to anywhere from 7 years to life in prison. Well, like I said, she was paroled after 53 years in prison at the age of 73. Now, like the other Manson members or murders, the murders that she was involved in were pretty brutal. Van Houten, Tex Watson, Patricia Krenwinkel, gosh, I can't talk today, Linda Kasabian, Susan Atkins, Clem Grogan, and Charles Manson himself went to the home of the LaBiancas on August the 9th of 1969. Now, Manson and Watson were the first two to enter the home, and then soon Manson left with Kasabian. Well, Atkins and Grogan, they all left. Okay, sorry. I'm still thinking about the Carlee Russell case. But anyway, so to back up, I'm just going to say that it was Manson, Kasabian, Atkins, and Grogan that left. So Van Houten and another woman, they held down Rosemary LaBianca while Watson repeatedly stabbed Leno LaBianca. And after he stabbed Rosemary, he handed the knife over to Van Houten, who then stabbed her at least 14 more times. And she even admitted to it in court in 1971. Well, of course, Manson denied any responsibility of the murders, and there was never a motive that was really explained by any of the so-called family members. Well, over the years, parole boards denied Van Houten parole, but I guess persistence it does pay off, And on May 30th of this year, a California Court of Appeals set aside a previous denial of parole by Governor Newsom, and this made Van Houten the very first member of the Manson family to have it ruled in their favor to be paroled. Now, I also want to say here that Governor Newsom, in one of his reasons for denying Van Houten parole, said that even at the age of 71, back 2 years ago, um, that she still posed a danger to society if she were to be released from prison. Now, it's not for me to say, okay, but I will say that she's not somebody I'd want to be left alone with in a room, okay? Even at the age she is now. Anyway, after that took place in May of this year, Governor Newsom said on July the 7th that he wouldn't appeal to block her parole, so she walked out of prison a free woman on July the 11th, 2023. Now, do I think she should have been released? No, not at all. I sure don't. I feel that every single one of the members of the Manson family never deserve to see daylight outside of a prison yard ever again. And their crimes are just so despicable, to say the least, okay? Um, and they deserve to be punished to the full extent of the law and serve every single second of the maximum of their sentence and then some. Now, like I've said in the past, I've never really did an episode on the Manson family other than, I've mentioned them a couple of times in other episodes. And this is actually the most that I've spoken about them. And I just get this weird feeling like when I do any kind of research about them or watch TV shows about the Manson family or anything, I just get this disturbing feeling and I can't describe it because most time I can go through these murderers without getting too terribly upset or disturbed by it. But I don't know. But I think I'm gonna try and like put all that to the side and just go ahead and do maybe a mini series because there's no way that you can do just one episode about everything that went on. But anyway, y'all, that's all I've got for this week's episode. Be sure to check out the links in the episode description, and y'all have a great night.